How do you do, fellow idiots? Now, it may not seem like it, but this is actually a video about mental health. Now, I haven't done one of those in a while, I think, since the start of the quarantine, though I do not recall with a lot of clarity. Which leads me to the topic of this video: cognitive decline. Genuinely do not know why I said it that way. I have no idea. This is how far gone I am. Now, this is something that has begun affecting me personally, so I will give you my perspective on this whole thing. Every once in a while, usually at the end of a period of prolonged depression, I notice that my cognitive faculties have declined. Specifically, I will become much more forgetful, have difficulty focusing on things, my attention span will decrease drastically. I won't be able to hold as many thoughts in my head, I will make a lot of typos, I will misspeak often. Which, one thing in particular that I try to keep track of in order to keep track of this is how many takes I need to make any given part of my video. I don't record off the cuff, I have a script that is lying over there on my tablet computer that I have typed out where there's like a little sentences, sometimes like 2 or 3 sentences strung together, and then there's a line break, and that is each of my jump cuts. I don't stick to it religiously, and I can't do that as much, really. I literally right now, I am going a little bit off script. Not necessarily directly off script, because this is in the script, except for the part where I say that I am going off script, which isn't in the script, but my explanation for this is typed out in a specific way, which I have now forgotten what I am talking about even. So though the script is more of a guideline, I tend to follow that guideline pretty well, and really the most important thing I try to achieve with it is to have, for the structure of the video, a coherent argument or narrative. But you know, obviously I will sometimes lose my train of thought, or just misspeak a word, and sometimes that slips by me, but usually I notice while I'm recording it, and I'm like, okay, I have to re-record this. During these periods of cognitive decline, it takes me noticeably longer to make these videos. It'll take me longer to script the video, it'll take me longer to record the video, it'll take me longer to edit the video. A lot of this is due to the fact that my willpower will also be severely deprecated, or rather, being used to just keep me running. And because I try to investigate some complex, God, that sounds really pretentious, but because I try to investigate some fairly complex ideas every once in a while and take a lot of different angles on them, the cognitive effort of that sometimes escapes me in those situations. I have a weird memory as it is. I am very good at like remembering social interactions, so I know the exact words that were said to me and that I said in a conversation that happened 3 years ago, but like basic facts that you can measure, not so much. Like, I use mnemonics to memorize like the structure of the periodic table. Still couldn't tell you anything about it because the mnemonics have since sort of disappeared, and I know the vague shape of it, but if you gave me any single element that isn't like helium, I wouldn't be able to tell you where it goes off the top of my head. Which is why I like to keep my research handy. This is especially terrible when playing role-playing games because I can pretty much never remember the wording of any given rule. And then when I play different systems, I will sometimes just put in rules from other systems into this system because it's somehow in the same ballpark. Right now, at this very moment, my cognitive decline is worse than it has ever been. Just doing this fairly short script has taken me a lot longer than some of my longer scripts. And even while recording this, my mind wanders off pretty often, though it is not as bad as I had expected it to be. I have, for the past weeks, been fucking up basic routines that I have maintained for months and years. At this point, I operate mostly on instinct, and instinct isn't great if you want to follow a recipe. Now you might be asking, Burger, do you have Alzheimer's? Do I need to be worried about you, mate? Which is fair because my grandfather did die of Alzheimer's just last year and I am kind of scared of getting it myself one day. But that's not what's happening here. No, I suffer from a condition called being a human being stuck in the middle of a pandemic while the whole world seems to be crumbling around him. Look, we've been doing this for a couple months now, and though a lot of us kind of think that it has become normalcy, it really hasn't. At least part of your brain that is responsible for anxiety is still going literally all of the time. It has been doing this for months. You may think you have adapted to it, and to a tiny extent you might have, but really you haven't. That's not how this works. And of course this isn't just because of the virus. It's the whole situation and the other situations that are somewhat related to it because they're happening at the same time. You have the upcoming US election, which is, it's stressful for anyone who's following it, really. You have just continuing black people being murdered in the fucking streets. You have this whole complete refusal by major governmental organizations to do anything effective against the coming horrific economic fallout of the coronavirus, instead of pumping massive amounts of cash into the pockets of already unfathomably wealthy people. But in a much less grand scheme of things, the whole way that we do social interaction is not normal right now. And humans being inherently social animals, we notice this. It's not just the way that we all put on masks in the supermarket and like keep our distance while in public spaces like we're all afraid of each other. Although everyone does seem to be walking on eggshells, terrified to do something wrong. The last time I touched another human being was almost 2 weeks ago, which coincidentally was also the last time I really spent any, like, IRL time with another person. My two primary love languages are physical touch and spending quality time. You see how this might be a problem for me. Online interaction is fine, it is a decent surrogate for staying in touch with my loved ones, but it's not even near the same thing. And there's a lot of people who are in the exact same boat as I am, and like on an abstract level, pretty much everyone is for different reasons. I mean, fuck, it feels like the pandemic has siphoned away the one resource that I value most in the universe and that I am at all times most scared of losing, which is time. Add to this the fact that I have depression anyway, and you get what you get. Now, a lot of you might be thinking right now, hang on, holy shit, I now also have more of the am the stupid now than before times. Turns out, and this is true, that prolonged exposure to anxiety, depression, and other such stress factors will actually significantly decrease your brain power. And we are all being exposed to prolonged anxiety, depression, and other such stresses. All of that stress will just grind down on your brain's capacity to brain. But, and this is very important, once the stress goes away after a period of recovery, you will bounce back to normal. This is not a permanent situation. The reason for this is that anxiety and depression and all those things sort of promote the creation of certain hormones and neurotransmitters while depressing the production of other hormones and other neurotransmitters, which can eventually sort of slow down your neurons and like literally make thinking slower. That's a very basic sort of layman's explanation. I'm not gonna like go into the detailed neurology of this, because even though I read up on it in detail while scripting this video, I have no idea what it says in that script. I do not understand what that script says anymore. And that is weird. That usually doesn't happen. But you know, once the anxiety and depression are gone, eventually all those hormones and neurotransmitters get cleared out. And it was a huge relief for me to find this out, which is why I'm telling you. If you have been experiencing cognitive decline in the quarantine, that is completely normal. There is nothing wrong with you, outside of the sense that you have been experiencing cognitive decline in the quarantine, obviously. But beyond that, this isn't something that is weird about you, or something that'll last. You're just under an enormous amount of stress right now, and you have been for a long time, so it's completely normal for you to experience this. I just realized that I didn't set an alarm for my laundry, which is yet another one of those things that I have done for like years now, and for some reason I have forgotten, so I really need to go. Thank you very much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, share this to your relevant communities, but do not spam them. Consider supporting me on Patreon or Subscribestar, buying some of my merchandise or my short story collects. That routine still worked. I mean, I did kind of point to the Lovecraft. Isn't that a beautiful... I should really do laundry. And in that spirit, I know it's bad right now, but it will get better. And see you around, cunts.